All right, welcome everybody. Despite what my friend Doug Schoen had to say, you can cut the tension with a knife on this vice presidential debate. I know what you're thinking. These aren't the presidential candidates. These are the vice presidential candidates. Doug Schoen said that this rarely, if ever, moves the needle. Okay, but it could. It could, especially when things like this happen. This is a classic case. We see this in politics all the time where politicians have to dial something back. Bill Clinton last night talking about the Affordable Care Act. Listen up.
You've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it sometimes 60 hours a week, wind up with their premiums doubled and their coverage cut in half. It's the craziest thing in the world.
All right. Methinks someone got to Bill Clinton because today in Athens, Ohio, actually just a few minutes ago, a slightly different Bill Clinton take on the same health care law. Listen.
Look, the Affordable Health Care Act did a world of good. And the 50-something efforts to repeal it that the Republicans have staged were a terrible mistake. We, for the first time in our history, at least, are providing insurance to more than 90% of our people.
All right, so the good outweighs the bad. Don't focus on what I said last night. Focus on all the benefits I raised today. Now, Bill Clinton, not to pick on him, wouldn't be the first politician who's had to dial something back in the course of the campaign to clarify their remarks. Congressman Dave Brat, a Republican from this fine state, joins us right now. Congressman, what do you make of that? It sounds a lot like an about face.
Yeah, good to be with you, Neil. I think Bill Clinton doesn't want to be in the White House for 4 years. I think he's a genius. He doesn't make mistakes. So I don't think he wants to be stuck in the White House. And but that's the natural outcome when you lose the free market system for 1/6 of your economy. He said exactly what you get. And Karl Marx, I did my PhD in economics. Marx wanted to own the means of production. And now under Obamacare, the left has learned you don't need to own it. You can just regulate 1/6 of the economy and the rest of it. With all the regulatory overreach of Obama in the last 2 years, it's been phenomenal. And the average person is not happy. So this is a change election. I think things are rolling our way.
Now, you came to power, and people didn't realize how revolutionary it was when you toppled Eric Cantor, a prominent Republican leader in the House, on the notion that the party itself had given up its fight on reining in government excess. If you were Governor Pence tonight, speaking on behalf of Donald Trump and what you're going to do about runaway spending, big bloated spending, what would you tell him to do?
Yeah, I was with him last night at a rally, and the biggest thing I told him, I gave him a little hint. I looked up the Virginia stats. Senator Tim Kaine, nice guy, but his NFIB, small business score, is 17 out of 100. Mine's 100 out of 100. And Pence would be in that 100 range, right? And so our side wants free markets. We're good for small business. Senator Tim Kaine will say he's an entrepreneur, he's, moderate, he's pro-business, etc. 17 is not pro-business. And so that lines up with a 1%.
Well, obviously has not hurt his popularity in this state. Obviously, as a former governor, a senator, obviously he's got a lot of cachet with that. Hillary Clinton is up in the polls here. What do you think's going on?
He's a nice guy, but likability doesn't matter. When you got a 17 and you've overregulated the economy, right? You got the fiduciary rule, the franchisee rule, the overtime rule, the Dodd-Frank rules, the Water of the USA rules, Obamacare regulations. Small business is getting crushed. That's what matters. So the tide is turning on this thing. And these political stories, our side, the Republican press has Stockholm syndrome or something, talking about Donald Trump's taxes. I mean, it's irrelevant in comparison. The Clintons are worth $100 million and have never been in business. That's the question. They have $2 billion with the Clinton Foundation, and they've never been in business. How can that happen?
Are you surprised that Trump hasn't responded that way or aggressively? He got kind of close to it in a speech yesterday, but by and large, he doesn't effectively counterpunch on this.
Yeah, he gets ticked off at the lies, and so then it takes him a day or two. But now the main line's coming out when you got $2 billion for the foundation and only 10% of it goes to the poor and to charities, and you've enriched yourself with $250,000 speeches on Wall Street regularly, right? And amassed $100 million without ever being in business.
Yeah.
And they've been in political life their whole lives. I mean, that's the choice, right? This election is very simple. Do you want more federal government or less? And that's the debate. And then do you want a foreign policy that's strong, or do you want the Middle East blowing up? And do you want to get run over with trade deals with Russia and China and all the rest of the countries we're dealing with?
All right, we'll see if at least the running mates can get to that kind of debate tonight. Congressman, always a pleasure.
Will.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Neil.
Good seeing you again.